Hi, good day to you. Thank you for joining us on our midweek devotion once again. As we read John chapters 18 and 19, it might seem very clear to us that Jesus was put on trial. Several religious trials before the Jewish leaders according to Jewish laws, and also civil trials before Pontius Pilate using Roman laws. For today's devotion, we shall focus only on his civil trials before Pontius Pilate. But let us not just look at the surface. Let us search deeper and consider whose trial was it really? Jesus' civil trials started in John chapter 18, verse 28, when the Jewish leaders brought him before Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor. To be fair to Pilate, he had actually wanted the Jewish leaders to take Jesus to judge him according to their own laws. But these leaders would not do it because they wanted Jesus to be put to death, and their law would not permit it. So, back to Pilate. Let us now take a closer look at what transpired between Jesus and Pontius Pilate at Pilate's headquarters, starting from John chapter 18, verse 33, to see what we can learn from Pilate's 5 important decisions about Jesus. The first 2 decisions can be seen in John chapter 18. So let's dive in. Pilate's first decision. Inside his headquarters, Pilate asked Jesus, "Are you the king of the Jews?" To which Jesus replied with another question. "Is that your own idea? Or did others talk to you about me?" Jesus then went on to tell Pilate that his kingdom is not of this world. All his servants would have fought to prevent his arrest by the Jewish leaders. His kingdom is from another place. Jesus even went on to explain his purpose of being born and coming to this world, to testify to the truth, and anyone on the side of truth listens to him. I'm sure you heard clearly what Jesus was saying, right? He wasn't even speaking in parables. But somehow, Pilate didn't seem to understand. Pilate was too skeptical and allowed his mind to continue questioning what is truth, and so did not accept Jesus' truth. Decision number 2. After this, Pilate went outside to tell the Jews that he did not find any guilt in Jesus. And following the Jewish custom at Passover, he offered to release either Jesus, who is innocent, or Barabbas, a convicted robber. Guess who Pilate released? While Pilate knew and declared Jesus innocent, he did not do justice. He released Barabbas, a criminal, instead. Now we come to chapter 19, where Jesus was given 3 more decisions by Pilate. Decision number 3. Because Jesus was not released, Pilate had him flogged. The soldiers mocked Jesus by placing a crown of thorns on his head and arrayed him in a purple robe, a sign of royalty. They even said, "Hail, King of the Jews," and struck him with their hands. Pilate went out again and said to the Jewish leaders that Jesus was totally innocent. There was no guilt in him. Even when Jesus came out wearing the purple robe and crown of thorns, and the chief priests and officers cried, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" Pilate insisted that Jesus was innocent. He suggested that they took Jesus away to crucify him themselves. Perhaps after seeing how Jesus, a man not guilty of any crime, being flogged and humiliated, Pilate felt compelled to declare that Jesus is innocent a second and third time, as recorded here in John chapter 19. He had an opportunity to reverse the mistake that he made earlier, but sadly, Pilate did nothing. Decision number 4. Upon hearing the Jews say that Jesus had made himself Son of God, Pilate became even more scared. he entered his headquarters and asked Jesus where he was from. Upset by getting no answer from Jesus, Pilate then flexed his worldly authority and warned Jesus that he had the power to release him or crucify him, to which Jesus calmly told him that he would have no authority if it had not been given him from above. Hearing Jesus spoke with authority, even in his humiliated situation, could have caused Pilate to fear that Jesus could really be the Son of God. From then on, Pilate sought to release Jesus. Unfortunately, Pilate was too proud of his worldly authority to submit to Jesus' authority as Son of God. Decision number 5. The Jews now put more pressure on Pilate by accusing him of not being a friend of Caesar if he released Jesus, giving the reason that anyone who makes himself a king opposes Caesar. With his future and career on the line, Pilate bowed to this pressure and handed Jesus over to be crucified, and so is remembered forever as Jesus suffered under Pontius Pilate whenever Christians recite the Apostles' Creed, even up till today. The trial is finally over. But whose trial was it really? Pilate thought Jesus had been brought before him to be judged, but in actual fact, it was Pilate who was judged by Jesus, the Christ. God had given Pilate an encounter with Jesus for him to decide if he would believe his Son, who has told him the truth, the sovereign King to whom all authority belongs, the one even the wind and waves obey. Sadly, Pilate had been found guilty of all 5 charges. Pilate had the opportunity of hearing from Jesus during the encounter about himself and his truth, but was too skeptical to accept or believe. Pilate was in a position to uphold justice, but he did not. Pilate even had the opportunity to repent of his earlier mistake, but he did nothing. Pilate was too proud of his worldly authority to submit to Jesus' authority from God. And finally, Pilate succumbed to the fear of men instead of fearing God, and so had Jesus crucified. How about you? How about us? How do we respond when we encounter Jesus? Every decision we make has a lasting and even eternal impact. Every decision we make reflects what we believe in Jesus. Do we really believe in Him and His truth? May we learn never to look on the surface and take the easy way out like Pilate. May we always remember today's lesson and do well when we stand before Jesus, the judge of the living and the dead, when He returns one day. God bless you.